Welcome to Momentum Monday. Today is March 30th, 2025. Howard, are you worried about any tariffs, you know, on any Canadian goods?
Well, if they had a map of Canada and the lumber supply, we would say well, maybe it'll affect housing prices or costs of housings. But what's lumber doing?
I mean, we cannot pull it up right now, but there
No,
was a,
if you just saw where all the trees come from, I think we would say we need Canadian lumber, so maybe we're going to take it over for lumber. I don't know. I mean, he wants tariffs. The market's telling us, I'm not going to blame any one thing, but the market is acting like not good. So walk us through what you're saying from a
yeah. I mean, last week we talked about the potential for a bounce, and this is exactly what we saw. A bounce, uh, which was stopped right near the 200-day moving average, which also coincided with the volume weighted average price since that high. They were kind of at the same level.
they're doing VWAP on IBD now.
Not yet, but I'm telling you that this is where where it coincided.
Okay.
And right, I mean, I don't know if Trump is or his team are watching. Like this is right where they mentioned new tariffs, new auto tariffs. So the market, sold off after that, and it seems like we'll get another like lower. As of right now, it becomes clear to everyone that there will be, tariffs of some form
Yep.
for everyone, and the market tends to overreact. And if
Yep.
the market overreacts this way and decide, oh, just in case we're going to discount a potential recession, even though it might not happen, just in case, and we might discount it, which might mean 20% pullback for the indices, and they're already down 13 for the QQQ, so maybe another 6 or 7. That's nothing. It could happen in a week.
You can't,
Um,
but the thing is, you can't stop something that's just a magic number, right?
oh,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, so I think, yes, like, I mean, all bets are off, right? Like Google, anything that was, we talked about some trades. I got stopped at anything that was great. You have to go on defense because in the end, everybody bought into the fact, well, not everybody, sorry. People decided not to listen that he was serious, that, it's 4D chess and no, he wants tariffs. I'm not going to read into why and whatever. No, who cares? The market is now going to overreact to a recession. So they're going to be, if the market, here's what I can guarantee. If the market accelerates to the downside, the press will be saying this is what they had to do to fix the corruption of you know the uh, the last presidency, and we had to pay. So all of a sudden, Americans have to pay. So I wouldn't stand in front of that because once you can't predict when something will end if a panic ensues, right? And you could see it, the Amazon selling, the Google selling.
Yeah, everything, especially the Max 7. I mean,
Yeah.
they've done much worse than
Yeah, because
Nasdaq
that's where the
100.
money is. That's where
Yeah,
everybody puts their money.
exactly.
When these start to sell off, that's when true liquidation, and it doesn't mean liquidation, it just means raising cash, right? Um, and Apple won't hold if Nvidia won't hold.
Yeah.
Apple surely will play catch up to the downside. So I don't know. Like I don't need
I
no
mean,
money.
all of them are down a lot more than the Nasdaq 100.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't matter. That's where the cash is hiding out.
exactly. And I mean, the semiconductor is one of the strongest hit sector, down 25% from their
Yeah,
52-week high.
if you go to a monthly, I mean, these things have had the run of all time.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there could be a pullback to 160, like to
Well, that's what I'm
the,
saying. Like, you're going to test this line at some point. So either we go sideways for a while and the line catches up. As someone who's light stocks, let it happen tomorrow,
that's
right?
another what, 40%?
At 40?
No, 20. We're not 20%.
I'm saying it ain't going to
Another
be
20%.
6%, but
Yeah,
20% would be like 40% for most semi stocks. So like if you look at Marvel, one that I got stopped out of, right? Like if you don't stop out,
Okay, here you go.
Look how fast it just
Yeah,
cratered.
down 50% very quickly.
50%, right? It gave up what, 4 years of gains, 3 years of gains? And it's just back at a trend line. So I'm saying like, so if we go back to the SMH, what are you going to do? This is what you have to start thinking as an investor. Okay. You want to be smart and say you're in it for a long term. Great. But how are you going to have cash available to buy S&P and the semis and the QQQs if the semis if Nvidia is down 25% from here? Because that's where the 200 day, what is that? The 200 month or 50 month?
This is the 50 months.
Yeah, so it's a very long-term trend line,
Yeah.
right? We're already below the 200 day. So, you know, you need to get in the mindset of like defense so that if you see 20% prices lower, you're not selling then. You need to be in a position to buy a panic, right? And what I'm saying is someone wants a panic.
Yeah.
Could
It
be the
seems like it.
president,
Yeah.
could be Russia, could be Elon, could be who the fuck knows? But we're in no man's land.
I mean,
See,
if
if you
you,
trade this from the long side, I don't see it because you can wait a month or two and buy breakouts on the long side. So it's just like I don't know who's going to step up and buy here.
I mean, in this type of tape, regardless if you're playing the long or the short side, I think you have to be very tactical because if you study any of the previous corrections, any of the previous bear market, like the second we have a very obvious breakdown, like the next week we have like a sharp rally, up
Yeah.
until declining 20-day, declining 50-day, declining 200-day. So if you're going to short, you're much better off to wait for those declining moving averages. So where you can enter with a relatively tight stop, so if you're wrong, you're going to lose like 3-4%. If you're right, you can make 10-20%, just thinking in terms of risk to reward. And the same on the long side, if you want to play the long side during correction, which is not easy, but it's not impossible. You also need to wait for those liquidation obvious breakdowns, to enter for a quick, 2-3 day a week bounce and then take profits quickly and just wait.
Yeah.
Uh,
Plus the pros, it's a macro environment, right? Rates are high. They're hardly coming down. Stevie Cohen, we talked about 2 months ago. Stevie Cohen and these guys have been like bearish. They're busy trying to make money somewhere else. They're not even looking at stocks right now. There's literally anybody with deep pockets is not looking at stocks. So it's be really and if we go look at the CoreWeave IPO, I don't even know if you could pull it up. No,
and
I have no position in
what was the
this.
symbol?
CRWV, which is like a slap together roll up of NVIDIA.
Okay, let's see. So, I mean, they only have 1 day of data. So
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
the
yeah. But what
60
I'm
minute.
saying is this they want to take this public because this is it. They got to get this thing public to get the cash in. So I'm saying like you get the IPOs you deserve in a market like this. So I have no true opinion on this stock. It's Nvidia is an investor and it's a data compute roll up of clusters. And any other market, this thing would have opened at 100 and they didn't care. That's when you can tell the company needs the money and it has to come in now. So that's kind of what you get. Now, again, tomorrow they come out and say, it was all a hoax and no tariffs. And I don't even know if the market would listen. So I think you
Yeah,
need some
I think you're right
I
at this
think you're
point.
gonna need, yeah, so they're coming in some level. So you're gonna need some fundamental news, or you're gonna need some levels to be hit where there's some buyers.
Yeah. I mean, and one thing to highlight last week is that during that pullback, the second there was a bounce last week. We also saw on Thursday, for example, some of those Asian, Chinese ADRs, Singaporean ADRs outperforming, that they try to break out, but ultimately the overall weight of the market weighed them down. And they came back. But I'm kind of thinking that if the overall market bounces, I'm not just talking about the US market, uh, those types of stocks, from Asia are likely, and foreign stock in general, might outperform, especially if the US dollar continues to pull back, which
Yeah.
seems to be a goal of the current administration.
Yeah, I'd like to think about. again, when you've play, I've been playing defense for a little bit with some, and obviously you're playing defense too. The question is, I kind of like to think what could really go wrong, right? Like to speed this up. Because if you're going to do something, you're going to scare the natives, which is, a whoosh, right? A whoosh air pocket down. And you can see you got to start thinking about those levels like we looked at in the S&P or the QQQ. They're 20, not K-Web, again, because it's in a different type of market. But if we're going to look at the Qs, where you're looking at here, you
I mean,
really
this
can't.
is a monthly, and the 20, the 50 month is like 380. I mean, that's a pretty
And where are we
significant.
now? Where are we now?
468, 469.
So again, like you've got to really understand your risk reward here, right? In a fast market where nothing the administration say has been that they're going to do anything to change their minds here. You got Vice President flying to Greenland, like you've got Europe stepping up for Ukraine, you got Zelensky turning down. So in a macro perspective, there's no reason to think that Trump is going to change his mind. There's just no reason to think he's going to change his mind. He loves tariffs. Tariffs are beautiful. I don't know what that means, but I'm not an economist.
I don't think that this is just his policy. There's a group of people, of advisors behind him
Well,
that,
yeah, but it's his way of, but
yeah,
it's words, meaning, yes, it's his description of the policy that has people scared, right? And so the market believes him. And if the market believes him, it'll overshoot. And the key is, what will you do um, when there's a real panic? And so I think now's the time you build a list and you look at those major, you look at the best companies, 20% lower.
yeah.
And you need to give yourself ammunition to do that. Are you looking at the short side? I mean, I'm not looking at
Yeah,
anything.
I am looking on both sides. And as I said, in this market, you have to be very nimble and you have to be willing to play both sides, not with the big sides, just to, keep yourself on edge and involved and, knowing uh, where the market is moving. So I am playing it just small and
Hmm.
both sides, both sides. And as I said, even during the steepest bear markets, they're humongous and very powerful rallies that can last multiple days, so sometimes, several weeks.
Yeah.
So there are ways to make money in this market, even if you only play the long side, but you have to be patient and
Yeah,
wait
and I do
for your
that,
spots.
and I had a few wins, and then like quickly, anything that I didn't sell is already.
Exactly. In this tape, you need to take profits quickly. This is not the type of tape that you're going to hold for multiple weeks. If you want to hold for multiple weeks, you have to wait, for a move above the 200-day moving average and then buy the setups there. In this tape, there is a correction tape below the 200-day. Like the way I approach the market, I rather be very tactical and take quick, 1 to 3 day gains on either side and, and just wait in cash most of the time overnight. And, because, you make most of your money when the market is above the 200-day and when you're going to capture trends that are like 100, 200% moves in a year or so.
Yeah.
This is when you're really going to grow. Right now, it's just about, make, keeping above water, making a little bit.
Well, I think, and it's not that we don't know where it's going to come from. Like ChatGPT came out with images. I don't know if you've used it, but look, we know AI is a megatrend. It's
Yeah,
just my wife uses it, my son uses it, I use it. 3 generations. Well, no, sorry, we're
2 generations.
but
Does your mom use it?
my great nieces and nephews are using it. They're 8 and 9 years old, right?
Okay.
So it's going to make everything easier. Google, it's going to open up the playing field. I don't know who it's good for yet. And anybody who's blabbing that they know who it's good for is lying. The only thing in a true uptrend is gold, right? And
Yeah.
what does gold tell you? No one's talking about gold because guess what? No cash flow and Bitcoin. But you know what? Nobody's talking about gold. Have you heard any of the like, we've talked about it, but have you heard? I mean, it is literally, and again, I'm not, I wouldn't buy it up here. I'd be a seller, but
I'm not listening to any podcasts, so I don't know. I don't
who
know
is?
who's talking. I'm not
No, I'm
listening.
saying, I'm
So
kidding, but no one's talking about gold because they've been shamed out of the world for the last, 12 years because of Bitcoin, right? And that is. the deglobalization, weak dollar, um, you know, we're taking over Greenland, bang the drum, fuck Canada, you're on your own Ukraine, our new friends are China and Russia. That's how people are voting. It's not it's not enough. People couldn't, you know, but yeah, the miners haven't kind of gone out, man. They
I
look
mean,
good.
they always underperform. Like they basically at the same level they were like what 2008, and
I
at the
don't
same
know about
time,
miners,
gold is up
but what I'm
like
saying is gold is breaking out of what, a 10, 12 year base. Okay, this
oh
is
yeah, it's a very long way. So
we've been
it's
talking about it since it was
yeah.
180. But again, like this is what you're up against. People are looking for hard assets, and it's
Interestingly, Bitcoin is,
but
not
still
really
down
moving.
amazing. It's just gold's playing some catch up on a percentage basis.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I think we've pretty much been clear here. I mean, we'll know a lot more next week, but I'd be surprised if we get to any resolution. And really, my numbers are so far away as we went through the SMH and the QQQs. You're not going to get me to like budge after these lows got taken out. To see Google just melt, right?
Yeah.
Like just melt it right through the 160s, right? Very weak bounce.
Yeah, 25% very weak
I go look
bounce.
at like
Yeah.
the speculative stuff like HIMS, which is just,
Yeah, it's
and it
down 60.
melted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it melted below its recent lows, right? It didn't even bounce. Like, it was a very weak bounce.
Very,
And
very weak
then
bounce. Yeah.
so I look across so many
I
industries.
mean, a lot of those stocks that were leaders last year, they're down 50% already.
Right.
Already.
They could drop a lot more. So they're not even interesting to me, right? And then you have the big news, right? X and XAI, right? Which is not really big news. It's just financial maneuvering for the next move. And so again, I wish I'm not negative. I'm just saying like I don't see why you got if you're a smaller investor, why you've got all the warnings here that things are going to get bad. And the VIX is really just starting to spice up.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be negative because the best thing that can happen to you as an investor or as a speculator is it's a bear market or a deep correction because this is what will create an opportunities for a tremendous growth in your account. So anytime when you see a correction, actually you should be happy because it ends up creating incredible opportunities.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Have a great week.
All right, Howard, thank you.
Okay, buddy.